And what if there is, and there can be beauty and depth in the challenging, uncomfortable emotions? And what if we were to learn how to be with those? What if on the other side is something far greater? Welcome to Energetics with Kim and Veronica, where we invite you to nourish the energy of your inner why, your inner healing, magic, prosperity, your curiosity, clarity, playfulness. Welcome home. Today we are talking about being with it all, the pain, the pleasure, and everything in between. I'm Veronica. Hi, Kim.
Hello, Veronica.
This is a
So
big
that's
one.
Veronica's voice. This is mine.
Don't mix us up. This is an important topic. It's a big one. It's an important one because this is really where the meat of everything is, right? This is like so much of our life. We miss the beauty of it, the magic of it, the depth of it because we're not able to. We haven't learned how to. We're not willing to be with all of it. We've decided or we've been taught that things need to be a certain way. They need to feel a certain way. And if it's outside of that box, then it's too difficult for us, and we haven't learned the strategies or the processes or the ways of being that allows us to be with all of it. And yet when we can be with all of it, that's where the true magic lies. That's where things really become alive. And so let's dive in.
I love it. Yeah, I agree. It tends to be, I don't know if it's an overlooked thing. I'm not sure. But, as you said, I love how you led that in. So as you said, we tend to have this thing of this is how it needs to be. And when it's not that way, that's when a lot of our judgments come in of right and wrong. I'm right, they're wrong, or, oh, why would they do it that way? Right? It's like, well, I butter this side of my toast first. What about you? And so, I love one of the recent trainings that you and I are in, the experiment. I'm starting to look at it all as it's all just an experiment. It's all just an experiment. But yeah, I kind of digressed a little bit there. But yeah, being with all of it, that means the pleasure and the pain, because we tend to only want to focus on and be with the pleasure. So what happens when we're suffering, when we're struggling, and when we're having moments of discomfort or whatever that is, or to just think about something positive, so to speak, in those moments, we're bypassing where the magic is. We're bypassing the healing, because as we can be with that stuff, it will heal itself. It will move itself. It get what it needs, and it will do its thing. Otherwise, it's just going to stay there on some other form, and we're feeding it under the table. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm curious.
Okay.
So I'm curious, like your daughter Zara, this has probably come up in her life.
Not willing to be with things.
Yeah, like how do you, because sometimes when we learn how we would share it with a child and sometimes it makes it so simple, right? So if Zara was not able to be with something, what would the wise Veronica Mama say?
I'm trying to think of a very specific example of something that she struggled with recently, because I've shared before with all of us how I sometimes will just ask her, right? So when she was struggling with something, when she's really like in a deep upset, I'll ask her if she wants to be there. And then when
Right.
she tells me she does, I let her know that it's fine. You can be upset, you can be angry, right? It still is important to consider your behavior. So are you
Yes.
being kind? How are you treating other people? That's still really important. How are you treating yourself? So I really try to instill that in her. Like, it's okay to feel angry. It's okay. And when she cries, sometimes my husband is a little bit old school. Don't cry. You shouldn't cry. And I'm like, embrace the tears, cry. It's good for you, Zara. It's good for you. And so, and that's how I try to approach it. And, I'm not, a master mother or anything, but that's I really am really trying to instill in her it's okay. Things are going to be tough in life. It's normal to feel the emotions, be with the emotions. If you want to stay there, you can. And if you want to transition or transition out of certain emotions, there are tools and processes to do that. So then we talk about breathing. They're learning breathing in school. So and she's
No, I love that.
so she's learned. She tells me. So she's seen me. She's seen me before in a meditation where I'm crying because I'm processing something, and she says to me, "Mama, you can do a 5 finger breath." And they do this thing where they teach them like you inhale, you exhale, you inhale, you exhale, you inhale, you exhale. And so she's teaching me this. Or a rainbow
Oh,
breath where they're like you like go through every color like red, inhale, exhale. So I love that they're learning that at such a young age. So breathing's a really big one that I teach her, but there's just other techniques. I just let her know there's tools available to her if she wants to navigate through that, but it's also completely fine and it's normal. I really
yeah.
try to instill it's normal that things are going to be tough, and there's nothing wrong with it.
And the breathing is helping her develop her own central nervous system to be with the what is. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because if we're only willing, let me put it that way, if we're only willing to allow ourselves to be with pleasure, and we don't have what would the word be? We don't have the capacity, the bandwidth. People use that terminology now, so I'm going to use that terminology. We don't have the bandwidth to be with the pain, right? Then we're doing then we're doing that roller coaster living. I'm happy when, I'm happy if, oh, but when this happens, I'm not. So what if when the pain shows up, we just see that it's part of an experiment of who we're becoming. And as we can allow the sad, the whatever, right? It's not about going down the rabbit hole, and sometimes that is what's required too. I've talked on here about times when I've been on my knees, right, with the ugly cry. And we all know the ugly cry. And so when we can be with all of it, that is surrendering. That is surrendering, right? And what are we surrendering to? We're surrendering to our becoming. We're surrendering to our infinite being and trusting that, you know what? This is part of my experience, part of the experiment. How I be with it is where I get to learn my strengths and my gifts. That stuff, it doesn't want to be stuck there any more than we stick it there, right? And so when we can just allow it to be whatever it is, that's when it will move on its own. It's energy. It knows how to move on its own. But we're the ones that don't want to go there, don't want to feel it. And so we're the ones that keep it stuck, just in not letting it do its thing. It knows what to do, right? You might all of a sudden get an idea to journal. I'm not a journaler, but many people are. It might be whatever it is. I see people like there's so many tools out there. And at the same time, I see a lot of people using some of the tools in a way to try to make the pain go away. EFT, emotional freedom technique, tapping is one of them that I see people. And I'm not saying there's a wrongness in that. I'm suggesting that what if we use the tools not as a way to force something to change? I don't know about you, Veronica, but if somebody's trying to force me to do anything, I do resistance. I do. I can do resistance and I can be really good at it. And so what if our it's do the same, right? And so instead of trying to make it go away, when I'm tapping or doing my whole body focusing or doing my breathing or my movement or whatever it is I'm doing, or my crying or my laughing or whatever it is, it's not to try to make it go away. It's facilitating me to be with it so I can be with the pain, right? It's easy for me to be with pleasure, right? What about being with the pain? And that's a tough one. I find so many people are, well, I only want to think positive. Okay, how's that going for you? That's the opposite end of the same stick. The other end of that stick is negative. So you're still in polarity and duality. Nothing wrong with that. Can you be with both? Can you be with both? And even sometimes when I'm in deep pain, if I can even remember that this is part of the process, this is part of the experiment, and that, yes, there is also pleasure in there at the same time. It doesn't have to be all one or the other, right? Anyway, that's where I'm
Anyway.
at with it. Anyway.
Yeah, we've really been taught to chase the highs in life, right? To chase the
Oh,
peaks, to chase the wins. And so, sorry for my laundry's going off. So we haven't, but what if, like, a point of contemplation, right? And everyone has their own beliefs about why we're here and how we're here, but what if we are souls that have chosen to experience this human life? And part of that exploration is the emotional exploration. And it's the breadth of every emotion. It's not only the highs, it's not only the pleasure, it's all of it. And what if there is, and there can be, beauty and depth in the challenging, uncomfortable emotions? And what if we were to learn how to be with those? What if on the other side is something far greater than you could ever imagine? But we're not allowing us to ourselves to experience what's on the other side of it in our resistance of it. What if in the
right.
acceptance of all of it, what if in being all of it, then again, to your point, we're becoming the one that can experience what's on the other side, which is a beauty and a magic that we couldn't even imagine.
I love it. And consciousness includes everything and judges nothing, right? That's I'm noticing how much I use that word right.
I say a lot, you know.
Anyway, but yeah, chasing the highs. You're so right. There was a moment in my life when I enjoyed cocaine, and you were always chasing that high, right? It became an addiction, right? That's what the addiction is we're chasing that high, trying to dismiss the whatever else is going on. So I'll just go get high. That was. Anyway, I'm not that person anymore, but I have had that experience. It was part of my experiment of my becoming. I
Exactly.
have no shame in it.
Yeah, exactly. And how wonderful that you have that breadth of experience, right?
Yeah.
So the same is, like,
Cool.
it's not only, I notice it with myself too, it's not only the uncomfortable emotions that make us want to maybe run away, but it's also the blah, right? So the
Mm,
contraction, right? So things get big and busy and exciting, and then there's a contraction. And sometimes in that contraction, I notice thoughts happening of, oh, there's something wrong, right? There's a wrongness in the contraction. There's a wrongness in the
right.
simplicity. And so I really have been challenging myself to look at the beauty in it and the opportunity in it, and the invitation in that contraction instead of making it wrong. And so that's something that I've really been playing with lately.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that contraction thing, you're right. We do tend to make it wrong. People make it wrong. It's like, oh, this is heavy. Is it though? Is it? Just check. Is it? We've been taught so many things. And for me, and I know it for you as well, that might be true for somebody else. Doesn't mean that it's actually true for me. And so it's constantly checking in, even when the greats, when I say the greats, I'm talking about, spiritual teachers and masters who, are considered the greats. There's a lot of them out there. Don't take their word for everything. I don't take their word for it. And what's true for them, I might be like, yeah, no, that's not true for me today. Because that can change. As I continue to grow and expand, guess what? So does my truth. So does what's true for me. Otherwise, I'm putting it in a little box. This is my truth. Is it though? Today? Yeah. Cool. And so I know a lot of people who also then they feel embarrassed that this is what was true for them, and they put it out there and they put it on social media and they blah blah all the things. And now it's no longer true, and they feel so ashamed of that, or they feel so whatever that is, what would be the word for that? Embarrassed. So for me it's like, this is what's true for me today. Boom. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's not, again, otherwise I'm getting addicted to the highs. I'm getting addicted to, the truth. I'm searching out there for what is the truth. I love, listen, I'm a listen to everybody junkie big time. Not listen to everybody. Let me rephrase it. There's a couple people I follow. There's a lot of voices out there. There's very few that I listen to, and I always check in to see. Right? Oh, that sounds really good, and that feels really true for me today. And if something doesn't mean I make it wrong for me. It might be something that shows up for me later down the road. And so, but if I'm always just chasing the highs, right? Just chasing what I think is the positive, the pleasure. If I disregard all the other stuff, then that could be a gem that down the road is like, oh my God, it changes everything. Last year when I looked at that, it was like, oh my God, I look at it now and it changes everything. But if I've totally dismissed it and put it over there, not even over there where I can see it, but totally dismissed it, then it could be something that could change everything tomorrow or in 5 minutes or a year from now or never. Right. But so for me, when I'm looking at the pleasure and the pain, can I be with it all? And when I see something that's true for me, it's true for me today. When I see something that doesn't resonate, it doesn't resonate for me today. But I can still be with it. I might even get curious about it. I'm a pretty curious person, right? And yeah, anyway.
Yeah, our
Anyway,
whole life is a journey of that exploration, and every chapter, every day is different. Every moment is different, and we can be with all of that. We don't have to lock ourselves into what's true now and make that true forever.
thank
Again,
God. I would get pretty bored personally.
it's true. Yeah. So we have like the pleasure, the pleasure and the pain. We have the expansion and the contraction, and the way our nervous system tends to default when we come to the contraction or to the discomfort, the pain is that fight or flight, right? That's kind
Yeah.
of the standard. And so we've been talking about the nervous system and how there's a wide spectrum between the fight or flight. And I've been noticing it for myself. So I'll share an example of I have an individual, a team member at work who's very, very negative. And it's really hard for me. It's very abrasive to my soul because I don't function that way at work. I'm very like, whatever is coming our way, we'll just make it work. Whereas this person is, will literally talk about how everything's a nightmare and everything's so horrible and awful, and it's that victim mentality. And so I have a lot of compassion for her because I think it would be really tough to live that way in life. But it's also like I sit very, she's in my vicinity, and so I struggle with it. I really struggle with what I'd say negativity, and that kind of lower vibrational energy. And I notice in myself like I just don't want to be around it. Right? There's that flight in me. I don't fight with her, but I notice that desire to just like, oh, I just would rather be somewhere else sitting with other people. And so, in my own attempt to really go deep and to have that awareness of, okay, I'm wanting to escape this because it's uncomfortable for me. What if life is presenting it to me for a reason? My mind doesn't know what it is, but maybe there is some benefit for me in my becoming, in my evolution. And so I don't necessarily get to an answer right away about why this is being presented to myself, but I can recognize my desire to fly, to escape. And I can move into contemplation of like, okay, what might be here for me? And I've had some really great awarenesses of that over the last couple of months, of things that some depths that it's invited me to go into. Also in my marriage, there's times where I'm really unhappy with choices my husband might make that's impacting me or my family, and I can feel that desire to fight with him or to escape. I'm just going to leave it all, right? And so it's really great to have that awareness of noticing that fight or flight, and then really contemplating, okay, what's in between that? What else is available to me in that spectrum other than fighting with him or running away from him? What else is available? And leaning into even just the questioning. Maybe there's not an answer right away, but there's at least a question of, okay, what else is available for me here? And that can be the beginning of the path to unraveling something, a beautiful in the next evolution of your chapter.
Nice. Yeah. Because you know what? There's so many people. I mean, we all experience, you know, sitting in rooms with people who it's like fingernails going down the blackboard, right? And so for me, here's what I would share about that from what you just shared. But you didn't judge her. Right. And so there's the word right again. So that is a big part of it. And so often when there's the person that we are reacting to as if it's fingernails going down the blackboard, we're aware of that. Then can we be aware of our judgments of the person? That person is just being that person. They're just living their lives.
And often
They're
doing
just
the best they can, right? Like often that's
yeah. Yeah. And so I love how this is a great piece to bring in here, because again, it goes right along with the pleasure and the pain. Yeah, there's always going to be people who are, and I'm just going to use the word because this is how we started the conversation, who are painful. But they're not. I'm just using that to tie it into what we were talking about early. So what if we only wanted to be around people who were pleasurable, and not that, oh my God, what a separation that would create on the planet. Ugh. Right. And so I love how, yeah, you're aware that it's fingernails going down the blackboard. You didn't judge her though. That's, I think, is a big takeaway for people. Just notice our own judgments of that. Because can I look at that as, can I look at that and go, okay, that's like fingernails going down the blackboard. Okay, so I have no idea what's going on in her life. So I can't judge her. I don't know what she came here to experience. But when I make her wrong for being who she's being, that's the judgment. And yeah, in some situations, we do have choice. The choice to judge, the choice to go, okay, so maybe I've been that in my life at times. So is she possibly, being a little bit of a mirror where I have no patience for myself when I'm being like that? Right. And so we all have those moments. So if I can have compassion for her when she's being like that, then that might open the door for me to have more compassion for myself when I'm being like that. Because there's so many people who have, Veronica, between you and I, we have over 55 years experience of doing self-help work. I know a lot of people who, when they have a bad day, they judge themselves. So when they see someone else having a bad day, they don't have the patience for them. It's because they don't have the patience. It can be because they don't have the patience for themselves. And so, yeah, so when we can look at it and go, if I can have compassion for her when she's being, that doesn't mean I have to bring her home. That's a choice, right? Doesn't mean I have to bring her home. That's a choice. Yeah. However, I can have compassion, then that opens up the door for me to have more compassion for me when I'm having my moments of pain.
I'm really glad you called that out, because I skipped over that in that story, because it's something that I think is so automatic for me, and probably and of course for you as well. That's something that I've really embodied over the last 20 years is really examining the individual as a whole. And so not looking at the person as the behavior, but
Right.
really contemplating. And that's something that I've done with her is, okay, who is she underneath all of that? And, I've developed my intuition to a place where I can see some things for her, which is none of my business, but it's also allows me to have the
Mhm.
compassion, right? Of some generational stuff, of some really tough things that would create that type of behavior when someone doesn't know other options to navigate. So I'm
Right.
glad that you brought that out because I think that is a really key component of really looking to the core of somebody and seeing, the beauty in their heart and the beauty in their soul underneath and behind that behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is a great conversation. I love it.
Me
Yeah.
too. Yeah, and
All
to your
right.
point, I'm not going to bring everyone into bed with me, but to snuggle in. You don't have to bring them home.
Right.
Yeah. Amazing. Well,
Cool.
inviting everyone listening to, look at as you're going through your hours and your days ahead, looking at where you can welcome all of it, be with all of it, embrace all of it, love all of it, and be at peace with all of it. And whatever that looks like for you, and maybe, kind of challenge yourself a bit to lean in more, to be more open, more inviting, more welcoming of everything that life is presenting to you and see what that does for you. And if you think this
Hmm.
conversation is helpful for you, for anyone that you might know, we appreciate all of the comments, shares, likes, subscribes, all of the things. We welcome the love. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Ta ta
Thank
for now.
you.